The same thing they seen the last couple of years, domination. I go there, no matter the challenge, I step in and I finish the fight before I even get started.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Jeremy Brand here, MMA Sucker. My pal,
Caio Machado.
Caio Machado. You got the fight coming up, Dana White's Contender Series. It's been a long time coming. Just talk us through the process, because you were expected to be on Contender Series previously. That fell through. You've got this one coming up. Like, how surreal is it that you're going to be stepping inside the octagon next week?
I'm so excited to get there. It's been a long journey for that, especially with the delay of my fight, with the visa issues. That was honestly, coming to this fight was my biggest concern. No weight, not training, not technique. It's let's get my visa done, let's get out of the way, and now I could relax and just focus on training. Thank God everything's good, everything's set, and now I'm just waiting to come down and bang.
So you have a new management coming into this fight. How much did they help you with this whole visa stuff?
They've been supporting me with the lawyers, with the team, and helping me putting all this stuff together. And I don't know if there's anything with management, but this time it worked out. Definitely.
Now, what made you choose first round management?
I had some issues with, I was with MTK back in the day. They had some issues with the boxing side of the promotion, the management, and then I had some issues with the visa. Me and my managers were in completely different time zones, so the communication was a little bit complicated. So I decided, whenever I wasn't super happy, and I started looking around. That was when first round I stepped in. I heard they offer what they had on the table, what they could bring to me. And I look around, I talk to people. They are one of the biggest one in MMA right now, so it was a no-brainer. I'm very happy first round right now, so I'm excited to keep going.
Definitely. So obviously you spoke about having visa issues previously. Mm-hmm. You then stepped back inside the battlefield cage after those visa issues, sealed the deal to get back onto Contender Series with an armbar victory in that last fight. I've seen your game grow tremendously from the first time we saw you inside the cage, where the ground was not your bread and butter back then. Then we see this armbar victory pulled off here.
2.
Yeah, 2. There you go. Exactly. So how much have you felt personally that your game has grown since coming here to Canada?
Like, my game has improved a lot. Like, I've been here for about 80 years, so that has been a lot of time of development. I'm with Coach Chris Franco, that's one of the pioneers of MMA in Canada. One of the guys that I know that has the most knowledge of the sport. He's a nerd. If you know Chris, he's a nerd. And on his comics, on his toys, and on his fighting style. So he absorbs everything, he analyzes everything, and we bring together, we work, we brainstorm, and now, like 8 years later, I got my black belt in Muay Thai kickboxing, I got my black belt in BJJ. I feel I'm a complete fighter right now. Like, that's the time was last year. I already feel UFC level for a while, but now is the time to go there.
So speaking of that, you said you got the black belt in Muay Thai, stuff like that. You got the black belt in Jiu-Jitsu. I've noticed online you've been training with the guys at True North in the gi as well. Talk about being able to cross-train, because you train with True North in the gi and Jiu-Jitsu. Chris has brought you out and introduced you to Lance Gibson Sr., Lance Gibson Jr., Julia Budd. You're able to cross-train out there now, which you're going to do after this interview.
Yep.
Talk about being able to cross-train with these guys and how much of an impact that's had on your training.
Wait, I really believe martial arts about you gaining more knowledge. Everyone does a little bit different. It's a living sport, it's a living art, so every single person has a different mentality, a different angle, or a different way to see the sport and to see the same technique. So more people we can bring together and piecing out, and I can take stuff from everyone, piecing out everything together. They'll bring my game to the next level. And like with True North, Gibson, and Franco, beside everyone that's been working with me, I'm with a great team right now. I have a lot of great people around me, and like my game is just improving. That's just the beginning for me.
So cross training has been something you've done locally. Now that you've signed with First Round Management as well, do you think you'll travel to train with other people and, you know, sort of give yourself some looks at different heavyweight fighters out there?
100%. I think right now in BC, especially in Vancouver, the hardest part for me is finding training partners. For this camp, I've been mostly working with Jaden Martin, that's actually a welterweight / middleweight, but he walks around 200-ish. Terrence Jeffers, that also a light heavyweight. And we got able to brought in from Victoria Dustin Joyson that was fighting at one not recently.
Yeah.
And that was a good heavyweight that I could work with. But overall, we don't have many heavyweights competing right now, and it's kind of tricky to cross training with those guys. So right now, with the contract in the UFC and being able to putting more of myself financially on the fighting game, I'm hoping to be able to do like the Vegas trip more often. You mentioned my last fight against Edson Lopez. He's a guy that after the fight we've been exchanging numbers and talking a little bit. He invited me to go to St. Kate. I talked to them, and that's a place I want to go here and there to get some heavyweight training for sure.
For sure. And speaking of Vegas, you went out there, you traveled to the UFC PI, you got to see the Performance Institute, you got to step inside the octagon for the first time to feel what it was like. Talk about that experience.
It's great. Like I feel like it's a coming of everything together. Being the UFC, around the UFC, being with the Contender series and the big lights, and you start feeling the difference on the promotion and the different. Like, okay, that's the next level. I'm not. Ideally, I would fight in front of a lot of people. I'm not a big fan of the small crowds with the pandemic or the Apex, but isn't that is the step we gotta do right now? But after that, I hope like. Big shows, big promotions, big crowds, that's what I'm looking for.
And you've known about this opponent for quite some time. Like basically right when Contender Series was announced, you knew who this opponent was going to be. How much of a deep dive, as you said, Chris Franco is a nerd when it comes to the fight game, so I'm sure he's had a look at your opponent. How much do you really know about this guy?
But I digested everything I had to digest on this guy. Chris and I, we dove into everything we had, but unfortunately we don't have much. Coming out of the local promotions, it's hard to get footage. You know that, and it's even harder when we talk about like Eastern Europe. Those guys, they don't release footage, and we don't really know what's the level of competition that's going over there. So he has a good record. He looks well-rounded, but from the footage, from what I was able to see, I don't think he. I think he's a bigger guy. He's 6'6" right now, so I think he relies too much on the size and his distance and reach to control the fight. But he's not. He doesn't really have the technique or the pace to keep up with me right now. I think once I start moving, I move more than the average heavyweight. So
yeah.
Once I start moving and start doing my game and cutting the corners in hand and finding my distance, the fight will be over soon.
You know, not everybody, but a lot of people, they see who your opponent is, they go, oh man, Caio's going to have a tough time against that guy. You always prove them wrong. What can people expect when they see you step inside that Dana White Contender Series octagon?
The same thing they've seen the last couple of years. Domination. I go there, no matter the challenge, I step in and I finish the fight before I even get started. I'm trying to warm up, I'm trying to have a good time in the cage, but the guys are done before I even get ready.
What's the one thing that you're most excited about other than the fight?
It's the UFC. Being the Contender Series means you are in the doorstep of the UFC, and being in the UFC right now for me, it's where the biggest heavyweights are, the biggest competition. I want to be champion of the world, and I want to be the best guy around, and there's no place else to be than the UFC right now. I want to fight the John Jones, the Don Aspinalls. I'm ready for those guys. I can't wait to get there.
You talked heavyweight there. I know at one point in your career you were cutting weight, and there was a potential that you might go down to 205. Do you think that, you know, once you get inside the octagon, you feel what it's like? Is that ever going to be a possibility?
I definitely can cut to 205. That's a different diet. That's a different work that I need to talk to my team, to my nutritionist, and make it happen. It probably will take about like 6 months to do it. But that's a transition that's a possibility, but I don't see it on the near future. I'm focused on the heavyweight division right now. I see the heavyweight division as the most interesting it's been in years.
For sure.
So I'm very excited to get in that pool and swim around.
Tom Aspinall, like you mentioned his name, he had an amazing performance a couple weeks back, or last week. And obviously John Jones is the cream of the crop up there. Who are some other names that you'd like to put your hat into?
I think right now the names that interesting me right now is definitely John Jones. He's the champ. Tom Aspinall, I think he's one of the guys with the most completed work, with the best footwork and movement for the division beside me. But also like Pavlovich, I think he has a good power guy that I still need to see being more tested, but I like his stuff. And Jalton Almeida, I think his grappling is out of this world. Is looks like a word better, even being lighter. He's such a strong guy, and so those four guys are the ones that are interesting me the most. Everything else, I think there's clear holes in most of those guys' game, but those 4 or 5 guys there's 4 or 5 guys up there that like I'm very interesting to be able to start thinking and working around it.
Now I asked you what people can expect out of you, and you said, you know, what you've seen in the last 2 fights. Obviously, people are finished before you even step in there. For the people that haven't seen your last 2 fights, what can they expect to see?
Gonna come strong. I'm gonna come hard. I'm gonna bring. I'm gonna find my range, and I'm gonna just put pace. I bring a pace that no heavyweight can bring. For more than some guys have good footwork, have a good movement. Beside that, I have a great cardio, so I can keep doing that on a bigger pace for a long time. So I'll be on his face for the 15 minutes if I have to, for 25 if they let me do it, or for 2 seconds if I finish this guy right away.
What will it take for you to get that Contender Series contract?
A lot of work. I want to say from 2019 forward, even before the pandemic, I quit my bartending job. I've been putting everything that I have on this fighting career, everything like I've been putting my heart and soul in the gym through the pandemic, to my wife being pregnant, to my 2-year-old son right now. Like, those hard times, I gave up a lot of stuff. I gave up, make some money, take care of my family to be able to support this dream, and it's finally coming together. I'm excited for it.
So am I. It's been a long time coming, as we said. Good luck.
Thank you very much.
My friend.
It's always a pleasure to chat. Next time, we'll talk as a UFC contract.